welcome back to LinkedIn Logs, the jobs and business news podcast. I'm your host, Chad White. If you didn't know, this is the podcast for jobs and business news on cpluscomedy.com. Like I just said, it's a website. Go there. Welcome back in. Here we are. There's things happening. Things are moving around. Oh my gosh. Hip hop hooray. Welcome back in this episode 111, I believe. Yes, 111. That is what it says on the RSS feed, on which I post the podcast. For some reason, it is up. Oh, because I had to triple check to see if I had already done a story that is currently sitting in the docket for today. What's going on? Right now, it's the tail end of the workday. I'm recording this podcast, and here we are having a nice time. Things are moving along at the unnamed television network for which I work. I don't know. Lots of meetings have been canceled this week. We are in the midst of upfronts. And if you don't know what upfronts are, it's I think I've mentioned it previously, but every episode is someone's first episode. So upfronts are networks go to host basically large conferences or parties or whatever, it's meetings where advertisers attend or they're in attendance, and they say, or a network will say, like, I don't know, Warner Brothers Discovery. I'm looking at the first story I have up now. Warner Brothers Discovery will say, hey, advertisers, you should advertise with us on Food Network or Cartoon Network or Adult Swim, which are the same thing, but according to YouTube TV, they're no longer the same thing. They broke them up into two different channels. Anyway, you should advertise with us because we have this coming and these shows and these things that we're going to do for our networks. And I think that they also work with streaming platforms as well. But anyway, so Bud or who else does commercials? I truly don't know. Row.co. For seeing so many Row.co commercials on Hulu. Oh my gosh. Serena's so brave. So they have all those advertisers, and Hydro Flask, I don't know. And then the advertisers go, sure, we want to advertise with you. Oh, you have the Olympics coming up. Oh, you have the Super Bowl coming up. Oh, you have the big game. Oh, you have the World Cup games and things of that nature. So, or House of the Dragon, season 3, or I don't know. So anyway, that's what upfronts are, and the network is doing upfronts. I will not be specific, but things are moving along. I was out of the house yesterday, and I had to go about 3 hours south in South Georgia. And I brought my laptop with me, and I told my manager and it's like, hey, I'm going. I was going to a funeral. Okay, it's like, yeah, but I'm what you would call a contract worker, so I cannot miss any hours. So I brought my laptop with me. First of all, I have Google Fi, and I pay basically per megabyte. I burned through like 2 gigabytes of data yesterday because I'm sitting in the car. My mom was driving, and I'm just like working. Every so often, I had to close the laptop when I saw that first gig happen. I went, you know what? Close the laptop, and I'll check back in every 15 minutes. This is America for you. How dare America? I'm on the way to a funeral, America. This is corporate nature. Ugh. I just recorded a couple of interviews, so those will be out in the near future. And I'm currently checking the email at this point in time. Ticketmaster says there's still tickets for the Florence and the Machine. Yes, I want to go. So I have to find a good ticket. I don't sit up in the rafters. I don't sit with the pores. I'm going to see Bruce Springsteen on Saturday, so it's going to be great. We love a good protest. That's what it is. It's a protest show. Tour. Excuse me. All right, let's get on with this first story. This comes from NPR, written by Mandalit Del Barco. I'm so sorry for doing that. Warner Bros. Discovery shareholders approve $110 billion merger with Paramount Skydance. As you can see in the notes, I editorialized it in the show notes that the Warner Bros. Discovery shareholders sold their soul for truly nothing. Like Paramount Skydance is still in conversations to get this deal completely funded, which again, keep in mind, comes from Saudi Arabian princess. Well, they can't kill me. Saudi Arabia royalty and some China financiers, as well as Trump's best friend Larry Ellison. You want more competition. You want. I said this in the Constitutionals on the last episode. You want PlayStation and Xbox and Steam Deck and all these different, and Nintendo. You want all these different ways to play video games. You want all these different companies to make movies and TV shows. If I just rewatched WALL-E in honor of Earth Day, I bought the Criterion the day it came out. Oh my God. It's one of the few Criterion discs that I own, and also it's one of the few discs that I bought day one. That and Reno 911 Miami, I remember those very specifically. I bought that one day one. What else did I buy day one? This doesn't matter. Anyway, but I rewatched WALL-E, and if you recall, the story is a big conglomerate destroyed the world with their pollution, by and large, and then they shot the population of the Earth into space on what was supposed to be like a 3-year space cruise or 4-month space cruise, something like that. And it ended up being a couple hundred years, and WALL-E was the last working WALL-E robot. And that was the whole thing. That's the whole pitch of the show, of the movie. I call movies shows. So that's what... you don't want one company. Not only will they destroy the Earth and leave a poor WALL-E to be the only thing left in his cockroach companion, but you don't want one company doing as much as Paramount Skydance wants to do. So this has been a big thing for Big Boss David Ellison. He's making all these promises that he wants the combined Warner and Paramount studios to put out at least minimum 30 movies a year. There was just the CinemaCon, which is the cinema conference where all the theater chain owners get together and talk about the state of the movie theater business. And while it does sound good and enjoyable that, hey, this guy promises to make these movies, they're going to be made cheaper and faster and with less care. And not that I'm saying that the creators behind the movies are openly doing that, but this is just what's going to happen. And it's not something that you should be looking forward to. You should not want this. The shareholders did not pass, according to this piece, a compensation package for Warner's executives and a non-binding adversary vote, according to proxy advisory firm. Oh, excuse me, advisory vote, adversary. According to proxy advisory firm Institutional Shareholder Services, the current Warner CEO David Zaslav could receive a quote-unquote golden parachute, which we've already discussed, which is roughly $887 million. As I've also previously mentioned, I don't know if it was on this show or on Constitutionals, they're all blended together. More than 4,000 Hollywood actors, directors, writers, and others in the industry have signed an open letter opposing the merger. This includes people like Robert De Niro, Pedro Pascal, and so many more. In an Instagram posted by the Committee for the First Amendment, Jane Fonda, Mark Ruffalo, and other actors made a plea to stop the merger. They're skeptical of David Ellison's promises. The thing about this, though, is that they have an end with the government, with Trump and his cronies. So this is more or less nothing. Even though the shareholders said yes to this, it still has to go through regulatory scrutiny. There are lawmakers who are against it, Elizabeth Warren and pretty much every Democratic lawmaker. However, this is Trump's America, and anything with these companies that they want to happen can and will happen, which is not the best thing to see, which is not something that you want. Again, and that's pretty much the story. So it has to pass the muster with federal and international regulators. If approved, Paramount aims to close up no later than September 30th. Also, keep in mind that the part of the deal why the shareholders went with Paramount is not only because Paramount paid the stock price and above that, more than the stock price, what the stock price of Warner was at the time. They also were promised, if this deal was not signed by the end of the year, then every quarter, starting next year, every quarter until it was dealt, they would get, I think, like $250 million or something. It was something stupid. But these shareholders, they're not going to get jack. They're not going to get that the 6 or 7 or 8 9-figure deal that they want every quarter. That's not going to happen. All right, this next one is the story that I wasn't sure if I've covered already, but I looked over the notes and I don't see anything. I looked over the notes for all 3 podcasts. This comes from the New York Times. Oprah Winfrey moves her podcast and books and products to Amazon. It's written by Nicole Sperling. Oprah Winfrey is going to Amazon. She teamed up with the retailer. I know I talked about this. I for sure talked about this. And I don't know if it was on excuse me. That's the RSS feed reader that I used. I don't see it on the show notes for last week, so I'm going to talk about it again. And please excuse me if this is what's happening. Anyway, I get to send an email that I already wrote. Sent. This is great. I pre-write stuff all the time. Anyway, the tech giant said on Monday that it reached a multi-year deal licensing with Miss Winfrey. So this is what's inside the deal. She is going to produce a twice-a-week video podcast beginning this summer, create specials focused on her favorite things and book club labels, and repurpose the 25-season library from The Oprah Winfrey Show. I have 100% have talked about this. Anyway, this is huge news. It's probably, over $100 million or so. They've done this for Jason and Travis Kelce. And everybody's getting into video podcasts and licensing video podcasts. I'm not entirely sure that this is something that is going to be sustainable. For instance, you can get a video podcast on YouTube right now, and I think that's the best way to do it. I get that these people are getting their money, which is fine. The hosts and everything are doing these podcasts, but when Netflix puts out a Pete Davidson podcast and none of it is audio only, that's what a podcast is. So we're really just making watered down talk shows, and this is the unfortunate side of what podcasting is, in that when we're losing late night shows and every single celebrity thinks that they need a podcast and there's all these different avenues to receive this stuff, there needs to be some sort of regulation for this. And it just seems like the medium that was built for the people is no longer for the people. Imagine if, which is what we could do now, but imagine if, someone made a TV show and just put it on YouTube. And people started watching that, which is what people are doing now. Basically Taskmaster, that's what that is. But it's just not something. I don't like this idea that video podcasts are being bought for hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're being licensed, and they're being in the case of shows that are on Netflix, that's the only place you can get those video podcasts. I'll say this. I have whittled down my podcast subscriptions. Not a single one of them. I don't think any of them. No, Never Not Funny does do video podcasts, and Doughboys does do video podcasts. But the other ones I have don't do video podcasts, and the ones that do they're either on their own proprietary website or they're on YouTube free to watch, and that's pretty much it. I don't think there's anybody on Netflix, but for Netflix, in an instance, in the case of them on the Ringer, the podcast that they got there from the Ringer, they're all, you have to watch them on Netflix now. You can't get the videos anywhere else. For Hulu, I believe they just picked up Mae Martin, Tig Notaro, and Fortune Feimster's Handsome podcast, and you can. Oh, and also the Lauren Morris's podcast with Hannah Simone, the New Girl podcast, the Mess Around, I think that's what it's called. Those are now on Hulu, but they're also on YouTube. So these licensing deals are just they're what's hot and what's happening right now. And I feel as though in a couple of years, even though that these shows are now becoming are cheap, they're still becoming productions, and they're huge, and at some point someone's going to have to say, all right, we're done. We're no more doing this. But until that point happens, we're going to continue getting bigger and bigger stars. Oh, I can't wait to see Meryl Streep host a podcast. Look at that. I covered that story without even covering the same beats. So there you go. I'm pretty sure I covered that story. Or I read it while I was on the treadmill. Because that happens. All right, this final one comes from The Hollywood Reporter, written by Winston Cho. Is film and TV production in Los Angeles starting to turn a corner? Now, I've spoken about this in the past couple of weeks, both on Constitutionals and on LinkedIn Logs. Constitutionals, the Entertainment Business News podcast. And what's interesting to know is that Los Angeles, what once was the singular hub for television production, has lost that luster, and that a couple of years ago spread out across the world. And now it's kind of whittling down to what places have the best tax rates. And I mentioned this before. New Jersey right now, it has the best tax rates for among any of the places that are shooting shows. Atlanta, Florida, Chicago, and then once you get into it, there's also some places in the Midwest that shoot pretty well, that pay pretty well. Excuse me, for shooting. Now, and did Google just trigger? Okay, now. In the past couple of months, we've seen Gavin Newsom introduce legislation, and Karen Bass introduce, the governor and the mayor of California and Los Angeles, respectively, introduce legislation in order to bring back production to Los Angeles, to the heart of the industry. After filming levels hit a new nadir last year, this is according to the piece, LA saw a roughly 10% increase in shoot days to start 2026 compared to the 3-month period from October to December, according to the latest report from the permitting office Film LA. Feature saw a major uptick in production, logging a 52% year-over-year increase. Nearly a quarter of all filming in the category came from titles receiving tax credits to shoot in the state. So if we look at this chart down here, I'm going to bring it back on the screen. This is from the Film LA, excuse me. You see at Q1 2023, they peaked at 7,476 shoot days here in Los Angeles, and then at some point in Q3 2023 it dropped down to 5,311, and then over the years it peaked and valleyed pretty much at all times, and right now they're in an upswing, as you can see in Q1 2026. They're higher than where they were in Q3 2025. This is people uprooted their lives and they moved to Los Angeles in order to get jobs and still do things. And that's kind of still what's happening. I know I have a neighbor. I used to have a neighbor, excuse me. She moved from here, it's her life and her story to tell. But she moved to Los Angeles, and I was like, why are you doing this? And she gave me she texted me one day. This is someone I've spoken to 3 times, like truly 3 times. I saw her when she was moving in. I met her parents because this is I will skip over the boring parts of the story. I've mentioned this before. There's a treadmill. I have workout equipment. There's a bike. There's a rower. There's a treadmill on the other side of this wall in my storage unit, and I run on the treadmill when it's too cold outside, or just for my own time. Anyway, I was running on this treadmill, and her parents saw me working out, and then I heard her go, "Why is he doing that? Why doesn't he just go run outside?" Anyway, then I got off the treadmill, and then her dad talked to me, and then I met her, and then she moved in, and I would see her every so often in the hallway. We chit chat, and then we hung out once. There was something in the leasing office, and then we hung out so that's 2 times, and then I saw her another time, and I don't remember. It doesn't matter. Anyway. So then she texts me one day, and she's like, "Hey, can I ask you a huge favor?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. What do you need?" And she goes, "I'm moving, and there's a guy coming to pick up my car who's going to be shipping it. He's a truck driver who's going to be shipping it, driving it across this great nation of ours." She said, "Can I give you my key?" And I went, "We've spoken." We've spoken in passing, and we've maybe chatted for longer than 5 minutes 3 times. But I said, sure, I'll take the key, whatever. So she gives me a key. We talk for a couple of minutes again, and then she packs up and she leaves, and she's gone. And for like a week, I had the key to her car. And that was that. But anyway, she moved to Los Angeles. Also, again, she moved under devastating circumstances, and I texted her and I was like, "Hey, how's everything? I just want to check in on you and make sure that you're fine and that you're safe." No response. I was like, "Well, that was it. That was the end of that friendship, or adversarial friendship." No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, but now she's in Los Angeles. But she was also doing improv here. She was taking improv classes here. And that's like one of the few things I knew about her. Any Hoosers. But now she's in Los Angeles wanting to do, because we had a conversation about this, wanting to do the industry stuff. I think act. I don't know. Maybe one day I'll let pop up in something, and I'll be like, "Hey, I've got a number. Let me text her for an interview." She also said, and I'll get off of this in a second. She also said that, when you have someone's number, I guess TikTok and Instagram can read your contacts, and you can be suggested to people, which is insane to me. But anyway, she was like, "Hey, I've seen this, the TikTok you do, and you're so funny. Oh my gosh, all those famous people you're talking to, that's so cool." And I'm like, I don't know how you found me, because I don't even post that stuff. That's what happened. Or post the TikTok things. Or how to get it. I don't know how fucking TikTok works. Who gives a shit? These tax incentives were introduced after the shootings in LA declined, the TV and movie shootings. And they were passed last year. And so now these tax credit programs are, hopefully the program rather is seems to be making some sort of change for the lack of shooting. The very first of the titles selected to receive incentives after those changes were made are now filming, with those projects accounting for nearly 7% of all shoot days in LA. They make up 22% and 17% of all feature and TV production, respectively. The economics of shooting in California, specifically LA, are tricky. It's not any one thing. Other regions have more generous subsidies, many of which give projects tax credits for A-list talent, on top of allowing productions to save a significant chunk on labor costs. It's interesting to see that. I think the crews are there, and the people who are lucky enough to continue working or are they can't go anywhere else because you often see like, oh, I left the industry to become a manager at a store or whatever. But it's some people can't make that pivot because a lot of these skills aren't transferable. I know for one, when I was let go from Cartoon Network, I couldn't get a job at GMC, the supplement store, because the woman who was the manager of it, the one here in my part of Atlanta, she was like, I know you're going to get another job in television, and it's going to be soon. And at that point, I'd been unemployed for like 4 months. And she's like, I know it's going to be soon. It wasn't soon. It wasn't soon. And she didn't, but what she didn't want to do was invest time in somebody who was ultimately going to leave. Again, it was not soon. But I would suspect that obviously in Atlanta and Los Angeles, there are people who are ready and willing to work. The same thing also can be said about New York, because think of how many productions, things were shot or are shot there. And then also the same thing can be said right now about Atlanta. But I think what the difference is, there's a lot to it. There's a lot of convoluted things to it. There's people who this is their passion and this is their job and this is what they want. Excuse me. This is their passion and this is what they want to do for the rest of their life. Like Jesus, someone just stepped on a toy. I know for a fact that I've been producing for 10 years. So I've been producing for 10 years, and I know for a fact this is what I want to do. And I've always wanted to write, and I've always wanted to be a producer. I also wanted to be talented at some point, but that shit ain't happening. and then there's other people who this is just a job. Maybe they're a production assistant. Maybe they're an accountant, and they happen to work with, Netflix or CBS or whatever. But this is just another job for them, and then they can go get an accountant job somewhere else or an HR job somewhere else. And then there's other people who maybe don't care, and they say, well, I can just I can switch in and out of whatever. I think it's different for everybody, and the people who really want it sometimes don't get it, and then they have to wait. Like me, I had to wait for this current job I'm pointing to my work laptop, for this current job to happen, and then other people, it just happens for them naturally. So at some point, it has to weed out the weak. I hate to say it like that, but at some point, it's got to weed out the weak. The people who don't really care. And then we also have shows and movies just shooting in different places. There's a lot of stuff that airs on television that is shot to look like it was made here in America. MasterChef is now fully in Australia as of last season, and they're in the middle of their current season. No, they just started their current season, and they're doing 4 friggin' weeks of auditions, quote unquote auditions. I think about this all the time when I'm watching MasterChef, because most of the time I do not finish a MasterChef season. They knock out the beautiful woman I'm in love with, and I go, I'm done. No, they do 4 straight weeks of auditions, and then basically in the middle of May, they finally bring in the people that they chose. I hate it. Just do 1 2-hour episode, and maybe Fox Broadcasting, make the time, but do 1 2-hour episode where you do all of the auditions. I don't need to see 4 episodes of 4 41-minute episodes of the same shtick every single time. Just do the things. Just do it. That's it. I'm tired. There's other shows. America's Culinary Cup, we were introduced to the 12 or 13 people right in the first episode. And I'm enjoying that show. And I'm enjoying Padma Lakshmi. So much so that I barely pronounce her last name. In what may emerge as a new trend in regional production, features saw a major uptick in filming levels. The category logged a more than 20% increase over the 5-year average with 687 shoot days. Roughly 22 of all shooting went to state incentivized titles, including Behemoth, which is from Searchlight Pictures, One Attempt Remaining, which is from Netflix, and Night Watching, which is from Amazon MGM Studios. TV, a long and anchor of production in the region, the fancy words, fared much worse, recording a 28% quarter-over-quarter decrease. Even more alarming, shoot days, 1196, trailed the 5-year average by more than 60%. Oftentimes, when I'm watching a show, like I'm watching The Shield right now, and then before that was Southland as I work out. Those are when I'm doing cardio here at the house and yoga. I'm watching I'm watching TV shows. It's great. I love it. That sounded like it was sarcastic. No, but I do love it. But what's fascinating to me is every single time that I'm watching a show that I know was shot in LA or takes place in LA, I think to myself, first of all, what a wonderful world. But I also think, oh, at least these people get to go home, and get to spend time with their families. And I think that's we should be able, because now as we see a lot of celebrities don't live in Los Angeles proper anymore. And some, Nikki Glaser lives in St. Louis, where she grew up. Michael Ian Black doesn't live in Los Angeles. Different. He's a comedian. Different. Everybody's like all over the place, and I think that should be incentivized. People should be able to work close to home. They shouldn't. A lot of celebrities just don't want to leave. That's why Danny McBride and his outfit, his team, they work out of South Carolina, and I think that's great. I think you should be able to put down roots anywhere if you have enough pull, and put down roots anywhere and be able to make the things that you want to make. I mentioned this previously. Here's another chart. California is still the number one in terms of production spend, but New Jersey is truly the up and coming, as you see that 45% year-over-year increase. And Georgia is trailing behind that. Then Illinois and New Mexico. But let's get people to make things. Let's allow this to happen and let it be in Los Angeles. Give the people their jobs. Give the people in New York jobs. I miss, that golden era of television where there were 900 plus new shows, new TV shows every single year. I miss that. Even though a lot of shows were getting canceled, they do one season, half a season, sometimes a couple episodes. All right, I'm done. Listen, if you like what you heard here, head to the website, c+comedy.com, where you can see me talk to famous people. I've got minimum a handful of interviews coming out. If you want to see video versions of those interviews, as well as a video version of this show and the other podcasts, Late Night Lately, the Late Night Show, and The Constitutionals, the Entertainment Business News Show, go to youtube.com/C+comedy, and also subscribe to those shows wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on social media at C+comedy on Blue Sky, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Follow me on those platforms at Chad Black White. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.